And then in the New Testament, when Jesus went down to the Jordan River to be baptized, we saw that the river was humility. Jesus didn't need to be baptized, not by our standards or by the standards of his society, but by going down to the river, he was saying, we are all in need of God's forgiveness. So that's what the river is. Now the question is this: is the river in you? I think there's good biblical evidence to say that God says yes. And God intends for his river of healing to flow in you. In Exodus this morning, we read about the call of Moses, where God says to Moses, you are going to go and set my people free. And Moses says, I cannot do it. They won't listen to me. And God says to Moses, tell them that I sent you. And my power is going to flow through you to change your world. And you had better believe it, Moses. So there we have God saying, yes, you are going to be the river that takes my love to the whole world. And then in the New Testament, we have some words spoken by Jesus that are so phenomenal. I think perhaps we read them and they're so hard for us to believe that we just overlook them and forget about them. They're couched in that chapter in John that has so much powerful material in it. At the beginning of that chapter, Jesus says, let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I am going now, and if I go, I shall return again and bring you unto myself. And where I am going, you know, and the way, you know. I am the way, and the truth, and the life, saith the Lord. No one cometh unto the Father but by me. And then he speaks these next words, which are even more powerful than that. Jesus has told his disciples, look, I am going. I won't be with you anymore. But you are going to do more wonderful things and more powerful things than I ever did. And that's what Jesus is saying to you. He's saying, you will do more than I did. You will do greater things. And you have to say, for goodness sakes, what does Jesus mean? How can we do greater things than Jesus did? And do you believe that you, in your daily living, can do greater things than Jesus did? Jesus says, yes, you can, and you will. That's a pretty big promise. When you look at the things that Jesus did, he forgave sinners. He healed the sick. He conquered death. And now Jesus is saying, you will do those things. And you will do them more powerfully than I. Jesus is saying, you are the river. The power is in you when it's going to flow through you out into the world. And all around you, the world is going to be healed. Just like those trees that grew by the bank of the river in Genesis and by the side of the river in Revelation, they grew up and produced leaves that were for the healing of the nations. You are for the healing of the nations. You are for the healing of the people around you. And you will do those things because Jesus said you would. And Jesus wasn't exaggerating or imagining anything. First one, maybe that's easy, that you are going to go out and forgive people. You're going to be like David was in that secret cave in En-Gedi when his worst enemy was lying at his feet sleeping, and David could have killed him, but instead he forgave him. You're going to forgive. And you will never know the incredible healing power of the forgiveness that you give out to the people who have hurt you. I urge you, show mercy like David. Forgive even as Jesus forgave, and miracles will happen around you like you will not be able to believe. Because when you forgive, wonderful things happen. First of all, you might do something good for that person who hurt you. In forgiving them, you might melt their heart and change their life. You may not. But even if you don't, wonderful things still happen when there is forgiveness. Anybody standing around or anybody in your circle of friends who sees you forgiving will be changed. Their hearts will be healed and their souls lifted up. And of course, the best thing about forgiveness is not what it does for the person who has been forgiven or the people around who see the forgiveness. The best thing about forgiveness is what it does for you. What a strange thing it is when we are angry or vengeful with someone else. Our anger and our vengeance is our desire to hurt that person. But more often than not, all the anger and vengeance in the world does nothing to hurt the intended victim. But it does everything to hurt and to destroy the person who holds it in their heart. Be like David. Let that river of mercy flow through you and wash away anger and vengeance for the sake of the world around you, yes, but more so for your own sake. And you will be healed of all sicknesses caused by anger, vengeance, and hate. You can do that. And then you will have done something greater than Jesus ever did. What about that second thing? Jesus healed the sick. And now in the book of John, Jesus says, you will do more than I have. Can you heal the sick? I don't mean that in a shallow or outward sense. But I do believe that a great deal of the spiritual sickness that exists in the world today exists as a result of a lack of love and a lack of compassion and a lack of understanding.